You sat down to do nothing, and somehow that made everything worse. Your body was still. Your phone was across the room. There was no task, no deadline, no alarm, and yet your mind kept pulling at you, replaying conversations, rehearsing arguments, writing mental to-do lists for problems that don't even exist yet. You were resting, but your brain had other plans. Here's what nobody tells you. The discomfort you feel when you try to rest is not a flaw in your personality. It's not weakness. It's not a sign that you need to be more disciplined or more zen or more anything. It's the result of a specific, well documented system inside your brain that was never designed to let you stop. And once you understand it, rest will never feel the same again. In 2001, neurologist Marcus Raichle and his team at Washington University were studying brain activity using fMRI scans. They expected that when participants stopped doing a task and simply sat quietly, their brain activity would drop. Less input, less output, simple math. What they found instead stopped the field cold. When people did nothing, a specific set of brain regions lit up, more active than when the participants were working on a demanding cognitive task. Rachel called it the default mode network. Your brain's resting state isn't rest at all. It's a full-scale internal operation that kicks in the moment external demands drop away. Your brain has been waiting for this window. The default mode network, or DMN, includes regions involved in self-referential thought, memory consolidation, future simulation, and social processing. In plain language, the moment you stop focusing on something outside yourself, your brain turns inward and begins running a background program it never gets to finish during the day. It processes your identity, it rehearses social scenarios, it builds a model of who you are, who other people are, and what might happen next. This is not optional, this is maintenance. Think of it like the way your phone updates its operating system. It can only do it when you're not actively using it. Your brain's most important housekeeping work, the kind that shapes memory, emotional regulation, and your sense of self, can only happen when external demands are removed. The moment you sit down and do nothing, your brain immediately starts doing something enormous. That's the first reason you can't rest. Your brain isn't broken. It's finally doing what it's been waiting all day to do. But there's a second layer, and it's the one that explains why rest actually feels threatening. In 2014, psychologist Timothy Wilson at the University of Virginia ran a series of experiments that became one of the most talked about studies in modern psychology. He asked participants to sit alone in a room with nothing to do for between 6 and 15 minutes. No phone, no book, no task. Just sit. 67% found it unpleasant. In a follow-up version of the experiment, participants were given the option to press a button that would deliver a mild electric shock. Most chose to shock themselves rather than continue sitting quietly with their own thoughts, including people who, when asked beforehand, said they would pay money to avoid being shocked. Their own minds, it turned out, were more uncomfortable than physical pain. Wilson's interpretation was not that people are broken, it was that the human mind is fundamentally action-oriented. Your brain evolved to solve problems, avoid threats, and navigate a complex social world. Sitting still with no inputs is, from your brain's evolutionary perspective, an alarm state. Nothing to respond to means nothing to protect you from, and that absence of stimulation is interpreted not as peace, but as danger. Your nervous system reads stillness as vulnerability. This is why the modern pull toward your phone during any moment of quiet isn't just about the content on the screen. The screen itself isn't the drug. The constant stimulation is. Every notification, every new piece of content, every tiny decision about what to tap next. These are inputs, and inputs tell your nervous system that the environment is being monitored, that you are responsive, that you are not exposed. Stillness feels like exposure, so your brain floods you with thought instead. Dr. Mary Helen Imordino Young at the University of Southern California has spent years researching what happens in the brain when people engage in inward reflection, specifically when they allow the default mode network to run its full cycle without interruption. Her findings reveal something that sounds almost too significant. Uninterrupted inward reflection is directly tied to the development of moral reasoning, empathy, and what she calls narrative self-understanding, your ability to make sense of your own life as a coherent story. In other words, the processing your brain tries to do when you rest is not random noise. It is how you become a more integrated, emotionally coherent human being. When you constantly interrupt that process with screens, with busyness, with perform productivity, you are not just tired, you are slowly losing access to yourself. The exhaustion so many people describe is not always from doing too much. It is sometimes from never allowing the cycle to complete. Here is where it gets counterintuitive. Most of what we call rest, scrolling, watching, background noise, passive content consumption, does not allow the default mode network to run. It suppresses it, because the DMN only activates when external demands are absent. When you're watching something, even something low effort, your brain is still processing external input. The housekeeping never starts, the update never runs. You finish a 3-hour session of passive consumption and feel more depleted than before you started. You wonder why. This is why. True rest, the kind that actually restores, requires something that feels almost counterproductive at first: boredom, specifically the willingness to let the mind wander with no destination, walking with no podcast, sitting with no screen, staring out a window, doing the dishes without filling the silence, activities low enough in external demand that your brain can slip into its internal maintenance mode and do the work it's been waiting all day to complete. The discomfort you feel in those first few minutes is not the signal to reach for your phone. It is the signal that the process has begun. Raichel's work suggests it takes roughly 4 to 6 minutes of low-demand quiet for the default mode network to fully engage. The first few minutes are the hardest. Your mind will resist. It will throw up tasks, anxieties, random memories. All of it attempts to pull you back into the managed, structured mode it's more familiar with. That discomfort is not emptiness. It's the friction before something real starts happening underneath. And once you understand that, sitting with your own discomfort changes meaning. It is no longer evidence that you are failing at resting. It is evidence that your brain is transitioning, that the thing you actually need, the processing, the consolidation, the reassembly of self, is about to begin. Your brain doesn't want you to rest because rest is when it finally gets to work. So the next time you sit down and feel that pull, that restless, low-grade wrongness, don't reach for the screen. Don't schedule something. Don't fill the silence. Stay. Let the discomfort run for 5 minutes. Let your mind wander wherever it goes. You're not procrastinating. You're not being unproductive. You are, possibly for the first time all day, doing exactly what your brain has been waiting for permission to do. You sat down to do nothing, and that, it turns out, might be the most important thing you did all day.